good afternoon, and welcome to A Glimpse of the Feminine. I'm your host, Tracy, and we are in the middle of fire season. You know that? Are you? Where you're listening? Our area is plagued by fire every summer, and man, is it getting old. And right now, there's some big fires burning not very far away. Homes are being destroyed, and so it just sucks. It sucks for so many people. Excuse me. Even those who haven't lost their homes are displaced, at least for the time being. And I have friends that had to evacuate, that weren't able to find all their critters. And so not only are they displaced by the fire, but they have that worry over their pet. And how many times can I say sucks in, a 5-minute time period or a minute and a half, whatever. It sucks, right? So I had thought about talking a little bit more about job stuff, and I think I do want to talk about that some more, but I'm going to put that on hold, and today I want to talk about fire. We lost our home a little over 16 years ago to fire, and while it was not a wildfire or a fire started by an arsonist, and can I just take a half a second and say, what the hell is wrong with people? Like, what makes you as a person think you have the right to destroy people's homes and lives by setting a fire? Like, I just don't understand. But because I know what it's like to lose a home to fire, I just thought we'd talk about that a little bit today. I want to say this will probably be a little shorter episode, but every time I think that, I end up going at least 40 minutes. So I don't know how long this will be. We'll see. I don't have a script written out. I just want to talk. Grab a cup of coffee, cup of tea, glass of water, whatever your choice of drink is. And let's just have a conversation. So 16 years ago, we had a newborn in the hospital. He had had his first open heart surgery at 10 days old. And we were 9 or 10 days out from that first surgery. It was St. Patrick's Day. And I'm in the PICU with my baby who's recovering. And my ex was back at work for the first day since the baby had been born. And I get this phone call. And it's our internet provider. We had our internet through a local business at that time. And he said, "Is this your home phone number?" And I said, "Well, it's our home phone number. But, well, are you home?" And I said, "No, I'm at the hospital with the baby. But this is your home phone number." And I said, "Well, it's my cell. So yeah, it's our home number, but I'm not home." And he said, "Well, we had somebody out driving around checking equipment and stuff. It was one of those types of internets that we had a receiver on the end of the house." And he said, I don't, like, your house is on fire." And I was like, what? And he's like, "Yeah, so I just wanted to make sure that all weren't like in the house. So I got off the phone with him. I had a friend that lived about, I don't know, 3 or 4 miles at least from the house, but she lived up on a hill. And from her house, she could see over to my house. So I called her and I said, "Would you look out the window, please, and tell me if my house is on fire?" To which she answered, "Yeah, it is." So I called my ex at work and said, "So the house is on fire." And he left work and he drove down. And my mom had gone down with my older kids. And so I stayed at the hospital with the baby, and our house burned. Thankfully, the fire department was able to get to it, so it wasn't, like, insurance wise, it was a total loss. We did not lose all of our possessions because the firefighters were able to get there quickly enough. They were able to put it out. So, like, the north end of the house burned, and there was lots and lots of smoke damage and water damage and all of that. But it wasn't a skeleton of a house like we're seeing, or just a pile of ashes like we're seeing with the wildfires. I did, however, lose quite a bit of stuff that was not lost to the fire, to the bulldozer, because I didn't get to go into the house and go through things and look for things. So, we found out later. So we had a year. Can I just say it had been rough? My ex had been out of work for a while, and a very well qualified, hardworking man, but could not get a job. It was just one of those time periods where the job market was just obnoxiously difficult if you were looking for work. And so we had gotten behind on all of our bills. And I had actually been doing what you're supposed to do, getting in touch with the people we owed money to and being like, he's out of work, but as soon as he's working again, we'll get things caught up as quickly as we can. And I had specifically been in contact with our power company and told them, I know we're behind, but he is now working and we will get caught up as quickly as we can. And I thought that was, I was doing what I was supposed to do. So anyway, let me also say, when you're pregnant with a baby, they expect to die. And then they're born dead and resuscitated. And in the hospital, bills are not necessarily your number one thought in your head. So Jay had had his surgery. He was recovering. And one day one of the cardiologists came in and said, go home and see your other kids. Like, you have the most highly paid babysitters in existence. Like, take advantage of this and go home and spend the day with your kids. And so we did that. We came home. We picked up the kids at my mom's and we came home. And we had no power. It's March. And so it was cold and it was dark. And we didn't really have any money because he hadn't been working. He had a job, but he had taken time off when the baby was born, and he was selling cars. So So we didn't stay home. We went back up and spent some time at my mom's house with the kids. And my folks, bless them, paid our power bill to get the power turned back on. So we lived in an old house built in the 20s. It had been remodeled some and an addition put on in the 60s. And I think possibly that's when our baseboard heaters dated from, but they may have been older than that. I had never seen baseboard heaters as old as those were before we moved into our house. And we didn't have them on. We had them shut off at the breaker box because they would just come on randomly. And there'd been a time or two where like a plastic toy or something was up against them and they had come on. And so we just had them turned off at the breaker so we didn't have to worry about it. Well, the power company turns power back on. They come into the house and they made one of my older boys came in with them. But so like all the breakers got shut to off and then back on. And then everybody left. Our oldest was already out of the house, and the rest of them were staying at my mom's because we weren't home. And so the breaker to the baseboard heaters got turned on, and the baseboard heaters started a fire. For us, for me, I could I do know how to talk. Compartmentalize the fire and go, you know what? That was stuff. Because I was dealing with life and death with my baby. And thankfully, because we were at the hospital with our son, all the rest of the kids were at my mom's place. And the dogs were outside because nobody was home to let them in and out. And whatever cats we may have had at that point were outside cats. They were barn cats. So the only life that was lost, my daughter had a couple of parakeets. And they didn't survive. But we didn't have to, we didn't have that grief of we lost a beloved pet or, somebody got injured or killed in the fire. Lost some very precious heirloom items, quilts that my grandmothers had made, things that were irreplaceable. But in the grand scheme of things, nothing truly important. No life was lost. And I do believe that if we hadn't been at the hospital with our son dealing with all of that, the fire itself would have been much more devastating to me because that would have been the focus of my trauma. I had bigger traumas going on. And then, like I said, I lost so much that actually survived the fire. But every time we'd come down to the house, so I could start kind of trying to go through things and sort, and I'd be in the house 5 or 10 minutes maybe, and my ex would come in and be like, come on, the baby's crying, we got to go. Baby's crying, we got to go. Because, of course, we were not bringing a heart baby into a burnt house. And so I didn't really get to go through things. And I know it was an old house, it was lath and plaster. And so I know there were things that survived, um, that I just, and then I was in the hospital with him, and my ex called to let me know that they were bulldozing the house because we got to get to building. So the majority of my things, I think I probably actually lost to the bulldozer and not to the fire. But I want to talk about the unique grief, right? No grief is the same. If I lose a parent, that is a different grief than if I lose a spouse, which is a different grief than if I lose a child, then is a different grief than if I lose a friend or a pet or a job, or like every kind of grief is unique. One of the things that has frustrated me about the grief of losing a house to fire is it gets dug up a lot years and years later. And again, every grief is like that in one way or another. But even now, there'll be times, and again, I'm 16 years out from the house fire. And there are times when I think, oh, I've got this. I've got that item, and where would I have put it? And I'm searching, and I'm like in my brain, where would I have put that? I'm trying to maybe picture where it is. And then it dawns on me, no, I had that before the fire. Or sometimes when I'm trying to think of an item, I don't know if it was a before the fire or if I got it after the fire. And so there's just like for me, it doesn't tend to be like with Tucker. When my grief with Tucker hits me, I cry. I am, it like gut punches me. And the fire grief doesn't do that to me. It may to you. And certainly closer to the time of the fire, it was a lot stronger. But it's just that sense, that little bit of emptiness, of loss. I had that, and now it's gone. And it was out of my control. In the aftermath of the fire, this is one of the reasons I hate fire season so much. I mean, people will be like, oh, it's the smoke and this and that. And yeah, that's not great. For me, there's been fire PTSD. Obviously, I didn't smell the house burning, but that burnt smell lingers. And I have a really hard time enjoying a bonfire anymore. It's a different smell, but similar enough. I can't do it. Or I can't do it for very long. I haven't tried for a couple of years. Maybe I should try again. But for a long time, I enjoyed bonfires from inside the house and watched my family enjoy them because the smell of smoke just gets to me. Since the house fire, we've also had a barn fire and a couple field fires. One field fire was started, somebody threw out a bottle of water that still had some water in it, and the sun refracted and started a fire. So if you are out walking around and you see plastic bottles with water in them, pick them up, put them in a trash can somewhere. And we also had a lightning strike in the field next to our house and had a fire. So for me, fire season has meant trauma triggers. When the smoke gets thick enough that I can smell it, I'm outside and I'm doing like a perimeter check around the property, making sure there's not a fire happening here. And even though, like, rationally, I know the fires are, 80 miles away, 100 miles away, maybe on the other side of the next state, because man, that smoke travels. My nervous system says we're in danger and we have to make sure we're safe. And that's a thing. And if you are in an evacuation area right now, like that's something you can kind of expect. Maybe it won't happen to you, and I hope it doesn't. It sucks. But just kind of keep it in your head that, well, that's a possibility. Like, don't be surprised if it does happen. Also, we were underinsured. And this is something we were both clueless. I had the erroneous belief that our insurance agent would make sure we were insured for enough, but we were only insured for our tax valuation on our property. And that was enough to pay off the mortgage. And between what the house was insured for and what the contents were insured for, we were able, being frugal, to rebuild debt free. However, we were not insured for enough. So if you haven't lost your house to a fire or some other natural disaster, make sure that you're paying enough in insurance for, that you're insured for enough that you could actually replace your home if you lost it. Because that's a little bit of a rude awakening. So, and again, of course, we were not part of a wildfire. We were a singular fire that happened. Excuse me. And so our community really rallied around us. I was so thankful. And I don't know that I ever properly thanked the community that came around us and supported us. Not because I wasn't thankful, but I was so overwhelmed. Again, we had a newborn that had just had open heart surgery. We had a house that burned down. We were trying to figure out what we're going to do, where we're going to stay. Our little town almost never has rentals. And it was overwhelming. The day Jay discharged from the hospital, and I had all these people. I had oxygen people coming in, and I had therapists coming in, and the company we were going to be getting his G-tube formula from. All these people, and they're wanting it. Where we need to deliver, and all this stuff. And I just sat and bawled because I was getting discharged to be homeless. I didn't have a home. I didn't have a place for things to be delivered to. And I just cried. Thankfully, one of the hotels in the area gave us like the employee rate, and we spent a couple nights there. And then I think in less than a week, we found out about a home that we could rent, which was actually a home I'd always wanted to live in. And so things worked out, but a lot of times they work out in the last minute. And we don't know. And if you're somebody who, I'm not a planner, like don't get me wrong, I'm not a planner, but I do like to have a little bit of time to make the adjustment for change in my head and get my head wrapped around it. And that was not happening. And it wasn't just our community, but we live rurally. And so, like, the 3 or 4 small towns, 5 small towns closest to us, like those communities came around us and cared for us. We had a spaghetti feed and auction that our postmistress had put together to help us. People were dropping off clothing and household items, and there was just so much outpouring of care. One thing I would like to mention, and I'm hesitant because I do not want to sound like I was ungrateful for any of the help we received. I was extremely thankful. If you're going to donate clothing, and in a wildfire situation like what we're dealing with fairly locally now, where people have, like, hundreds of people have lost their homes, and thousands of more homes are in danger of being lost. And I don't know, maybe even the ones lost are in the thousands now. But if you're donating to a specific family that has lost things in a fire, find out the sizes. What size does mom wear? What size does dad wear? What size do the kids wear? We had clothing given to us that was all over the place size wise. And so we're trying to figure out what we're doing about the house. I'm back and forth to the city multiple times a week with a medically fragile baby, and I'm having to sort through all kinds of stuff that's been given to us, but a decent amount that we can't use because it was the wrong size. Or it was in such bad condition, it really just needed to be thrown away. If we're going to help people, let's actually help them. And if you don't have something that you can give, I mean, I'm a thrift shopper, and my kids have always worn hand-me-downs. Like I'm not picky like that. It wasn't like, oh, we didn't have all new things. No. But these were things that couldn't be worn or just didn't fit because they weren't the right sizes. So, like, if you don't have things that you can give that will fit or in good shape, or you don't have money to give, or you can't go buy, like, that's okay. You don't have to feel bad if you are not in a position to help. It's okay. Maybe the way you can help is when they are rebuilding, offer to come in and paint or bring a meal, or maybe there's some other way you can be of help. Or if there's no way you can be of help, it's okay. Let them know you're thinking about them. I wish I was in a position to help right now, but I'm just not. But man, I'm thinking about you guys. I'm praying for you. Like, these are things I could do for you if you needed help with that. I'd be happy to come in and help. We hired some framers to build the house. And then my ex did a lot of the finish work. And we did have one gentleman that we hired pretty regularly. But we also had work days where people could come in and help because we were rebuilding debt free. And so we did a lot of the work ourselves. I say not me. I didn't actually do very much because I had a medically fragile baby that I was taking care of. But I did lots and lots of shopping from a hospital room. Lots of Craigslist. Marketplace wasn't a thing back then, but lots of our appliances and lighting and lots of things came off Craigslist. And like, I bought a commercial cook stove with 4 burners and a big flat top and a nice big oven. Thousands of dollars. I paid $600 for it. And, things like that I just, because I couldn't be here physically helping, I was shopping to save money so that we weren't just walking into Lowe's or Home Depot and, oh, we'll have this and we'll have that. And in fact, some of the things we bought new were some of the worst purchases I made. We had a washer and dryer that we bought new in LG, and the dryer drum ripped. Like, are you kidding me? And the material the dryer drum was made out of, I think a pop can was heavier duty metal. Very disappointing for what it cost. Anyway, that's not fire related. So there were lots of ways that people helped. People came in and helped drywall. They helped setting cabinets. They helped with painting. There were just lots and lots of ways our community came around us and helped. And it was so deeply appreciated. I'm sorry, I realized. I just realized I was videoing for my little sneak peek I do, and I forgot I was videoing. So I've videoed almost 10 minutes. That won't be the sneak peek. I promise. It'll be cut down. Oh my goodness. The smoke is getting to me right now. I just have to say, it's been pretty thick. We're miles, and I'm probably, really, as smoke goes, I'm not that far. Maybe 45, 50 miles from the fires, and the smoke's been heavy. And today, I've been struggling with a headache from the smoke. But I'm not complaining because my house is safe. And there are people that have lost everything. And there are people that don't know if they've lost everything or not. If you've lost your house to fire, I am so, so deeply sorry. Take a deep breath. It is going to be okay. Rebuilding is overwhelming. For me, it was overwhelming. It was also kind of exciting. My friend and I sat down and we designed my house. And so that was fun. You look for ways that you can look for things to look forward to in the aftermath. But it's hard when you've lost pictures, you've lost heirlooms, things your kids made. I lost my yearbooks from high school, and which really sucks because I don't remember stuff, and so I forget names and all that kind of stuff, and so losing my yearbooks was a big deal to me. Just know you're not alone. I mean, obviously, if you've lost a house to a wildfire, you know you're not alone because your neighbors have also lost their homes, except maybe one. What is it with what, like, devastation, 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 one house standing, devastation, devastation, like, I don't get how wildfires work. And unfortunately, in our area, and this is a yearly thing, and people are losing their homes. You know you're not alone, but still, when you're in the midst of it, it can feel like you're alone. And just take it one day at a time. If that's too much, take it an hour at a time, or a minute, moment by moment. One foot in front of the other. I'll probably finish recording this and then be like, oh, I wish I would have said this, or I wish I would have said that. Our hearts go out to those who are affected by the wildfires right now. For those who have lost their homes. For those who have lost beloved pets or livestock. For those who have no idea because they're just displaced right now. And I am going to cut this just a little bit short today. A Glimpse of the Feminine is written and recorded by me, your host Tracy, and it's produced by Mike Jones Thames. If you find this a good place to land for 45 minutes or so once a week, like, share, please subscribe. Especially on our YouTube channel, it really helps the algorithms. And so I'd really appreciate it if you would do that. And word of mouth, help us grow. We're not monetized in any way. I'm hoping someday, maybe, this can be a little bit of a side income. But right now, it's just me at my computer recording. And so I'd really appreciate it if you would help my listenership grow. And leave me comments. I love to get comments. Love to hear from you. And until next time, take care.
I am not a stranger to the dark. Hide away, they say, 'cause we don't want your broken parts. I've learned to be ashamed of all my scars. Run away, they say, no one will love you as you are. But I won't let them break me down to dust. I know that there's a place for us, for we are glorious.